Hi, welcome to our channel Envision Cloud Academy. Today I'm going to talk about the tools that programmers use in the year 2020. Okay, let's get started. But first, let me tell you who's this tutorial for. If you are an absolute beginner who don't know anything about programming and want to learn the programming language and want to become a developer, then this tutorial is for you. Or you are an IT graduate or a student, then this tutorial is for you. Or a freelancer that has been doing few projects in IT development, but you haven't started working in any company yet, then this tutorial is for you. Okay, let's begin. First of all, let's talk about the compilers or interpreters. They are the integral part of any development. So we'll first talk about the compiler or interpreter. If you already know what a compiler is, you can skip this slide. A compiler normally is a program that converts high-level languages written by the developers into machine code. What are the examples of these compilers? There are Microsoft.NET, Java, C++. Yes, some of them compile into the machine code like C++ does, whereas some languages like some programs that support languages like C# and Java, they do not exactly convert code into machine code. Rather, they convert into an intermediate language that may also be known as bytecode in Java. And yes, there are other languages that do not necessarily have compilers, but they may have interpreters. Like, let's say, for example, PHP or Python, they don't have compilers. So anything written in Python or PHP is not compiled into a machine code. Rather, they are interpreted every time they get executed or they are run. The next thing that a programmer might need is either a text editor or an IDE. Notepad is also a text editor, but is very simple version of the text editor. So there are other text editors that programmers normally use. They are either Visual Studio Code or Sublime Text. Visual Studio Code is developed by Microsoft, and there's a Sublime Text that is another one. And they are used by any programmers, whether that be a Java programmer or a .NET programmer or a PHP programmer or a Python programmer. And IDE is more sophisticated version of these text editors, but they have more features like debuggers, and they are built for specific applications. Let's say, suppose, for example, Microsoft Visual Studio is developed for .NET based softwares, languages. Let's say C#, Visual Basic .NET, and it is developed by the Microsoft for Microsoft.NET developers. Whereas PyCharm, Jupyter, and Spider, these IDEs are built for Python-based application development. And JetBrains IDE is for Java developer, whereas PHP Storm is for PHP developer. So you can see how these text editors or IDE, they differ. So as a new programmer, I would suggest you to use either Sublime Text or Visual Studio Code, because they are much easier than other IDEs, and you can use them to learn any languages, so they are easier. Now, another thing that a programmer uses a lot is version control system. Version control system actually helps software teams, whether that be or teams or an individual, to manage software code changes over time. Suppose you have written a software and you can't finish a project in a day or two. So what you do is, like, you start building the software, you push the code into this version control system, and then over time you push the changes that you have made in that project. So suppose today you started the project, you push the first version of the code, and then tomorrow then you change the software or you add something in the software project, then you push that code too in the same repository, and so on and so forth. So this is the version control system. So if anything happens, let's say like 4 days after today, if anything happens, you can always revert back to the third day. So some of the examples of this version control system tools are GitHub, Bitbucket, and GitLab. So you can choose any of them. GitLab, for new developers and freelancers, I would suggest GitLab, as GitLab offers more features for free than GitHub and Bitbucket. But all of them are pretty good and I use them a lot. Now, if you are going in a software company, most likely that the teams and the people within that company communicate in some form of tools or application software. And it's not that they cannot use WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger or email, but they do that too. But to communicate within the group, they normally use something more professional and something more separated from the other social media platforms. That's why they use tools like either Slack or Yammer. Slack has more integration features with other project management softwares than Yammer, and Yammer is developed by Microsoft. Okay, so these two tools are the business communication tools that programmers are using. And other tools that you are probably familiar with, like email system. Your company might have their own email system, or they might be using Outlook, Yahoo, Gmail. And every company uses Microsoft Office tools like Word, Excel, PowerPoint. To make presentations, they use PowerPoint. To do some kind of chart work or ad hoc data management, they use Excel. And for email writing or resume or whatever that needs to have word to play with the words or the sentences, then they go with the Microsoft Word. So you know it. And now this is the project management tools and other kind of tools. So I haven't seen like startup companies using this quite often, but if a company has more than 10 or 20 employees, then they use it or these tools a lot. But for startup companies like up to 5 people, maybe even up to 10 people, they don't bother to use these softwares too much. So let's say it depends on where you go, what work you do, which level of position you are in, like you're a junior programmer or an intern, then you might use these tools as well. So there are a couple of tools like project management tools like Trello or Jira. And these tools are used by the teams to manage the project and the progress of the project and check the status of the project and who is doing what and who is responsible over what. And there are issue tracking tools like Bugzilla and Mantis, which tracks and records the issues or bugs, in a software project. So yeah, these tools are there to help developers manage the projects easily, and not only developers, the entire team like testers, project managers, and anybody and stakeholders within that project. Okay, now these are the tools that I've described. I hope this video give you some information regarding the tools that developers normally use. Thank you for watching this video and stay tuned. We'll come with more videos. Thank you.